Good morning, everyone. It's Anifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I have to tell you that the word enmity has been in my mind and my contemplative time. And of course, I'm thinking non-enmity, but I thought I would share the definition of enmity with anyone who's listening who might not know what this word means. So, enmity is a noun, which is the state or feeling of being actively opposed or hostile to something or someone. And this state of feeling or being actively opposed or hostile can happen, as you know, either in our thoughts, our words, or our actions. And it could happen from what we might even think are righteous causes, right? That someone has really done someone wrong, and we feel hostile or we feel enmity towards that person. And non enmity or nonviolence, we know, is something that Gandhi stood for, lived for, and practiced in his life regularly, which has always impressed me. And so, of course, I've got this one quotation. I wanted to share a couple of quotations from him. So, the first one I'll start with is he says, "Conquer the heart of the enemy with truth and love, not by violence." And I love this, right? So, again, we can look at world events and know that there's violence going on, but what about the violence within relationships? And this can be, again, with thoughts, with words, or with actions. And this can be violence within ourselves too. So let's say there isn't a relationship. With a relationship, we can understand, right? Someone can get very angry and might throw things, might hit, might slam doors, right? So it might actually not involve touching the other person, but there's definitely actions being done. And whether they're said or they're thought or done, it's all violence, right? So there's that. And then we know that world events have violent situations too. And it's also happening with thoughts, words, and actions. So I thought this was an interesting thing to think about. Today, I actually was thinking about humor with Gandhi because he actually had some very interesting experiences that have been written about that I've read. And I know I read this some time ago, but today I thought I'd share a few different experiences that he had with one professor. Now, some of you might know that he had studied at University of London, and he had one professor that didn't like him so much. And there's a story that at lunchtime, Gandhi got his tray of food and sat down beside the professor. And the professor looked at him and said, "A bird and a pig do not sit together to eat." And so Gandhi picked up his tray and said, I'll take away my food and I'll fly away." So that's so funny. It's so I thought that was clever. Another experience that he had with the same professor is the professor was walking behind him somewhere and said, "Gandhi, if two envelopes fell behind you and one had wisdom in it and the other had money, which would you take?" And Gandhi looked at him and said, "I'd take the money." And the professor said, "I knew it. You would take the money. I would have taken the wisdom. But it's just like you. You're so greedy." And so Gandhi said, "Well, I would have taken the thing that I don't have." I just love that too. And then finally, one more experience that he had with the same professor was an assignment or an exam was being handed back to Gandhi after he had handed it in. And he saw that the professor had written the word idiot on it. And so Gandhi took it, sat back down, and waited till the end of the class and came up to the professor and said, "Professor, I've noticed that you signed my sheet, but you didn't put a mark on it." I just think again, it's so funny. Now, I find it so interesting that I've only learned about these humorous experiences in a very short time, maybe in the last year. And I have to say that I remembered when I read that story specifically, that I remember being at wooden desks in my high school, I guess it was. And there was a not kind word written on my desk. Now, our rooms were shared with a lot of different classes, so I can't even remember whether I took personal offense or whether I thought it was directed towards me or whatever. But I remember looking at it and thinking the exact same thing, that someone signed their name. And I just think that's so funny. So maybe some of the spirit of Gandhi flows through me. I'd like to think that. But today I wanted to share those ideas to plant in your mind about how we can work through the idea of non-enmity or non-violence in our day-to-day experience too. So I thought I'd finish with another quotation by Gandhi. And he says, "My freedom from hatred, I would even claim for myself individually. My love for those who consider themselves to be my enemies does not make me blind to their faults." And I think this is so important because I do also truly believe in loving each other in the world, this oneness idea. This does not mean that we are blind to the things that people are doing that are not right, right? So a lot of times when people think that, oh, when we think love and joy and rainbows and lollipops for everyone, that just means that you're not noticing, you're denying the real situations that are happening. But it's not. It's the perspective that we look at or look through from our own minds, our own intelligence to interpret what's going on and what kind of energy we put back out, because we have love, we have an awareness, we have the ability to speak kindly, and we can model this for ourselves, our families, and the world around us. So I leave you with those thoughts today, and I hope for 5 minutes after this video, you might think of how you are spreading your own ideas of kindness, compassion, and love around you. I wish you a fabulous day ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.